Can you imagine sharing your life, your body, your bed, your everything with one of the most notorious murderers of all time? Somebody whose very name is the epitome of negativity, murder, and evil. And that's your boo. That's your chick. That's your dude. That's the person that you want to marry and have a family with. Some of you have been sending me her name for months. And her name is Eva Braun. And I didn't even really want to learn about her because I was just like, that was your dude, really? She was the wife for about 72 hours of Adolf Hitler. Why are we talking about her? Because she's an Aquarius. Her birthday was February the 5th. It just passed a couple days ago. And many of you sent me her story and asked me if I would talk about her as one of my famous or infamous Aquarius. I don't even really know where to place her. I really don't, because she is famous, but at the same time, she really didn't do anything. He did the actions, but she was with him. So to what extent are you responsible for your partner's behavior? Does that make her infamous? Does it make her willfully ignorant? Does it make her naive, as some of the SS officers testified? I don't know. I'm going to tell you guys what I found, and then you tell me what you think about this famous or infamous Aquarius. So let me start with the introduction. Hey guys, it's me. I'm Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Pass it on to somebody else who might like it too. And don't forget to drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And stick around to the end of the video, because I'm going to read two of my favorite positive comments from previous videos and respond to them. So one of them might actually be your comment, because I picked them at random. If you would like to get a reading done, if you want to get some Ask an Aquarius merchandise, if you want to become my patron on Patreon, if you want to send me a gift for my birthday, all that information is underneath this video, okay? All right, let's get started. So her name is Eva Anna Paula Hitler. When she died, she was legally his wife. People still refer to her as Eva Braun because she was only his wife for like 72 hours before they committed suicide together. Can you imagine being so into someone that you commit suicide with them because they fucked up? I'm like, I'm gonna live. But let's talk about Miss Eva. So this is what happened, okay? Eva was raised up in a regular family, regular family, not very rich, just a regular old family. In 29, she was 17 years old, and she was working at basically a photography place. The photography place was the official photographer for the Nazi army, the Nazi group, whatever they call themselves. So this photographer hired 17-year-old Eva to work in the office. And one day in 1929, Adolf Hitler walks in. Now, mind you, at this point, he's not a leader yet. He's just a politician. So, and he's much older than her. I mean, much. But she was very flattered that he thought she was attractive, that he was interested in her. she said to her friends and family she was very flattered that such an older, and I guess he probably seemed distinguished, he probably seemed established, he was a politician, and Eva wasn't into politics, so she didn't know what kind of politician. She didn't know about his rhetoric and the negativity that he would spew. So she was like, oh, this handsome politician is into me. But her father knew better and did not want her to mess with him. And the whole family was against this little, arrangement. So basically, from that moment on, they said she would see him, but it was very casual. Apparently, he was the one. I thought maybe he was like coercing her, but actually she was pushing up on him and he was pushing her back. I was like, what? So she really wanted to holler at him. But at the time, he was in some type of weird relationship with his half niece. Some people say she was his mistress, his woman, his whatever you want to call that, his incestuous, I guess, love interest. Some people say that he was just overprotective of her. The way that the girl herself told the story, she said, and I quote, "You don't know what he asks of me." Now, that's a very vague, statement, but it's not a statement I would ever say about my uncle. Okay? I never said nothing like that about none of my uncles, and I got a lot of uncles, okay? So something there is not appropriate, definitely. So anyway, he was in this, whatever this was, when he met Ava, and his niece committed suicide in 1931. And according to everybody that knew him personally, he basically, they think he was in love with her. It was never the same. And if he wasn't in love with her, he was obsessed with her, infatuated with her, or something was going on. So Ava, and this is interesting to me because not only did the niece commit suicide, there was also another woman before her who committed suicide, tried to commit suicide. And then later on, you're going to see Ava tries to commit suicide. I'm like, man, this guy was real rough. All these women are trying to, end themselves. So Ava saw the niece's, suicide as her opportunity to get closer to him. So that's exactly what she did. And according to what I understand, she was his companion from that moment on. They called her his longtime companion. So apparently, he is a Taurus. She's Aquarius. And it looks like it says here that they were not married very long. Some are reporting 72 hours. Some are reporting 40 hours. So it was over 24, basically. So anyway, let me explain to you what happened. Okay, so she began to see Hitler. His niece commits suicide. She starts getting closer to him because, of course, now there's, that relationship is gone. So she wants to spend more time with him. And Hitler was really being very casual about the relationship. He didn't want anybody to know about her because he thought that the German women and the women of the party would like him more if he seemed like he was available, So he didn't want anybody to know. So Ava was kept a secret the whole time. The German people found out about Ava after they committed suicide. The only people that knew about Ava was the bodyguards, the officers, those kinds of people. Her family knew about it, people like that. But it was kept very hush-hush. So anyway, 2 years after the niece commits suicide, Ava doesn't like the fact that he's not really spending enough time with her. He's not really coming closer to her. So she attempts suicide, which is kind of crazy to me because I'm like, wow, I think that's really rough to do to somebody. Their niece commits suicide, even though it's a jacked up, inappropriate, disgusting kind of relationship, but then you do that, and they said it was a manipulation, not that she was really trying to commit suicide. And I'm just like, that's not cool at all. That's definitely not good. So for as controlling as she said he was, she was playing these little emotional blackmail games, because she did this twice. And every time it happened, it was because he wasn't paying attention to her. So after the first time, he got closer to her, started spending more time with her. It worked. He started to focus more on her in their relationship. And then the next time this happened, she ends up moving in with him. So every time she does one of these little, emotional manipulations, he comes closer to her, but still keeping her a secret from the German people. So she moved in with him, and it said that basically she lived a very sheltered life throughout the war. She was hidden from everybody. Whenever he had a meeting or something like that, she was ushered out the room before anybody could see her. She had a private room, so they didn't even have the same bedroom. And she basically was, in this relationship with him, and was pushing up on this relationship. And I thought it was really interesting that he didn't even want the relationship, because as a Taurus, we see them going for what they want. Tauruses go after what they want. They're like bulls, they charge. And I find it to be very interesting that she, the Aquarius, was really the one that was, instigating the relationship, and, pushing up on him and doing everything she could to make him come closer to her. And he refused to get married. He refused to marry her. He said that would destroy his career. Likewise, he never wanted to have children. He had these weird ideas that he said the children of geniuses, he thought he was a genius, and he said the children of geniuses are often screwed up, basically is what he said. So he didn't want to have any kids, and he didn't want to get married. So Eva just hung in there. She just stayed with them throughout everything that was happening. And they asked the SS officers about her, what was she doing during this time? And they were like, she was shopping, buying fur coats, expensive shoes. She was a photographer, so she was taking pictures. She was making home movies. If you Google it, you'll see all these home movies that she made of herself and him and her family. And basically the inner circle said that she didn't even attend public events. He didn't even take her with him to public events until into the 1940s. Sometimes he kept up this facade that he was not in a relationship with her, and she just hung in there. Eventually her family kind of just gave in. The father never really liked it, the family never really liked it, but they kind of just gave in, because he started giving them his private plane to fly around Europe. So they started enjoying the money and the perks that come with being with her being in this dysfunctional abusive relationship. So it really was very, 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 very negative. The inner circle said that Eva was not interested in politics. They said that she was mostly into athletics, shopping, cosmetics, things along those lines. They said that she loved to party and drink. Hitler was not that type. He apparently wanted her to stop partying, stop smoking, and be a vegetarian. None of which did she do. So basically, she would party, she would throw these, she would drink, she would throw these little soirees, I guess, with the officers. It wasn't really anybody else she could invite. So I guess it was just the people that were in their inner circle. And, they would, hang out, and do stuff like that. So basically, that's what she did. And I thought it was really strange, because I was listening to the officers, the inner circle, talk about her, and I was like, how can she be with this awful man? And she was infatuated, she was obsessed with him, and she didn't care about none of the stuff that he did. She either didn't know about it or didn't care about it, because they said that he kept her, they said he was kind to her, He like kind of like placated her, you know, the more he got into the relationship. And he also kept the atrocities away from his inner circle. So like the people he cared about, his family members, people like that, he kept them away from this knowledge. And think about it, we're dealing with the 1930s, the 1920s, the 1940s. They don't have all the technology that we have now. So it was easier for him to hide his behavior, and or say people are lying on him or things like that. So people like Ava, you know, because they said that she was naive, you know, and I think that she probably didn't know the extent of what was going on, but I think she knew that some bad things were going on. She might not have known exactly what it was, but I know for a fact when you're in a relationship with somebody, you can tell when they're stressed, you can tell when they're worried, you know. So she might not have known exactly what he was doing, but she knew something wasn't right. He even told her his plan, his end game, and she decided to basically die with him. So according to the story, she continued to be his companion, and then it got to the point where everything was over. You know, the war was over. They were crushing in. You know, they were going to seize Hitler. They were going to arrest him. At least that was the plan. Well, he of course knew this, so he decided that he was not going to be taken. He was going to kill himself, and Ava decided that she was going to go with him. Okay, so they got married. He married her for her loyalty to him, because remember, he didn't want to get married. But right before they committed suicide, they had a legal wedding. And it was his gift to her, according to the inner circle, for being loyal. And I was like, see, all that loyalty shit, sometimes it just don't pay off. So they got married. They had a party with the other officers and the other families that were there. They said that she, you know, got all dolled up, you know, and they were married, and you know, I wouldn't say enjoying it, because they said that he was pretty much writing his will. He was spiraling out of control. He was paranoid at that point. So I wouldn't really say that they enjoyed it. It sounded like she enjoyed it and just kind of resigned herself to, okay, this is our fate. And then after that, she, you know, changed her clothes, put on his favorite outfit. They said she painted her nails and got really pretty. One of the things she would do for him is always be really pretty. And any woman who has been in a relationship with a man, a lot of us do that. I did that when I was married. A lot of us do that. So she got herself really beautiful looking, and she went in the parlor with him. And he shot himself in the head, according to reports. Some people say this isn't true, but this is the official report. And she had a capsule of cyanide, and she bit it and died. And according to the officers, they came in the room, found them both dead, took them outside as per his orders and his will and testament, took them outside, set them on fire, because the idea was that he did not want to be captured. He didn't want to be captured. He didn't want his body, you know, messed up, or, you know, whatever the case was. And he thought that they would capture him and, like, you know, parade his body around or something. He had delusions going on. So he didn't know what they were going to do, but he had ideas that it would be negative. And so they were set on fire. And when the officers got there, you know, the Americans and, you know, their allies, when they got there, they were already dead, burned, and incinerated. Now, there has been a lot of people who speculated over the years that that's not what happened. They weren't really dead, blah, blah, blah. But the dental records were used to determine that those remains were his and hers. So most people think that that's what happened. Now, this is the creepiest part. Remember, I told you that he already knew what he was going to do. And I was like, Aquarius, what are you doing? Because Aquarius, we are loyal. And when we're crazy about somebody, we crazy about somebody. But I was like, Aquarius, at no point did you realize this was a problem. So one of the people in the inner circle was talking to her because he did not want her to commit suicide with him. He wanted her to escape. That was his plan for her, because he felt as though, he was going to put her on a private jet and get her out of there. So one of their inner circle members said to her, you should do this. This is the smart thing to do. And she said, this is a quote from her. Do you think I will let him die alone? I will stay with him up until the last moment. And I was like, Aquarius, I feel you. Seriously. As an Aquarius, we're that intense. We're that deep. I feel you. But when you dealing with somebody like him, I don't understand how she developed this obsession with this man. I really don't. And I guess we'll never know, because, the bits and pieces that we do have, a lot of her diary was destroyed. So we only have bits and pieces of it. And we have pieces where she's complaining about him. We have pieces where she says, oh, if I only had never laid eyes on him. And she talks about the agony of being in love with somebody like him. And I don't know. I'm questioning the whole thing. I'm questioning, was her mental health on point? Because nobody knows that. She wasn't diagnosed one way or another. I'm questioning, was she obsessed with him? I'm questioning all of this, because as an Aquarius, I can understand the loyalty, and she does have other Aquarius traits. They say she liked to party. She was like the kind of person who, was like, people liked her. She was a very likable individual. So she has some of the Aquarius traits that I'm like, okay. But she really wasn't that intelligent. She really wasn't into politics. She wasn't into reading. She wasn't into education. And I'm thinking maybe some of those things would have changed the way that she lived her life or the way that she viewed him. But basically, it's like she chased him, manipulated him into a relationship, and then he was like, all right, well, if you gonna hang around, I might as well take advantage if you're gonna hang around. And he did, and then she's like, oh, he controls me. But you were the one who chased him and basically laid yourself out for him on a platter, So I will never understand why this woman was in love with this man, or infatuated, entangled, whatever you want to call it. I will never understand it. So tell me in the comment section, should we call Eva Hitler an infamous Aquarius, or should we call her a famous Aquarius? Because she technically did not do anything, and many say didn't even know what was going on. But at the same time, aren't you still responsible for the things that your spouse does? I don't know, because some people would say, no, you're not responsible. But the government would say yes, because if your spouse goes out there and runs up their credit, they're going to be looking at you to pay them bills. So I don't know about this one. This one is a really tough one for me. And I'm really flabbergasted that she was infatuated with him. I can't believe it. The whole time that I was thinking about it before I did the research, I was thinking that he probably like kidnapped her or, controlled her in some kind of way. But she wouldn't stop drinking, she wouldn't stop smoking, and she wouldn't stop eating meat. So apparently she had enough of her own free will in this relationship. And as they said that they would argue about different things, but apparently she had enough free will in this relationship that she was pretty much getting the things that she wanted. So I'm like, really? That's what you wanted out of life? So that's Eva Hitler, the companion to Adolf Hitler. So now let's have a palate cleanser of some positive comments from the comment section. So Johanna S. Hey, Johanna. Johanna said, I find myself hesitating to talk on a subject, not necessarily stumbling on the words because I'm thinking situations thoroughly through before I answer or respond. Also, I love my time alone. So she likes to think, which is smart. It's smart to think about things before you speak. More people should do that. I don't always do that. I do most of the time, but sometimes I jack that up. I think we should all do that. Ariana Thomas. Hey, Ariana. Ariana said, I so get it. My mother is a witch. I am. My 10-year-old daughter seems to be on the same path. She is so sensitive and intuitive. Her powers seem to make her ill. So I am guiding her with crystals and learning to focus her mind. I'm still learning so much myself. In no way do I claim to be a professional, but I read energy. That's quite enough for me. That's really cool too. And being able to read energy is extremely helpful. It can really help you to see if somebody is worth your time or not. You know, just by looking at their energy, you might not be able to articulate it. I can't always articulate it, but I can tell. I can tell a lot of times which way to go and which way not to go. So reading energy is a very helpful ability. All right, guys, it's time for us to get going. So you come back soon, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.